I have to say how deeply disappointed we are that we're not able to go forward with the kind of budget markup that a markup justifies, that we'll not be able to offer amendments, that we'll not be able to offer countervailing a new budget, a different approach. Now, they actually be able to get down to numbers because we've had secret meetings and committees and discussions and outlines and frameworks, but it's when it's laid out in real numbers, like Congressman Ryan has done, like Senator Toomey has done, and people then look at it and they can express their view. They either like it or they don't like it, but it has reality to it and the kind of power to it that just talk does not have. So I have to say I'm disappointed that we're not being able to have the kind of markup that ought to be basic to the statutory duty of this committee to fulfill its responsibility to produce a budget. A couple of things I would say. There has been, and I just want to say this because I believe it's important, a systematic plan for several years on behalf of Senator Reid, I guess, and the Democratic leadership to avoid votes on budgets, to avoid being accountable for having a real plan for the future. For example, the budget was not brought up, and last year our Democratic colleagues voted against the Ryan budget, they voted against the President's budget, they voted against the Toomey budget, they voted against the Paul budget, they voted against every single one, and have not been on record yet for one. I thought at least in the committee today we might have the Democratic committee members at least stand up and cast a vote for or against this budget, but they're not going to do so. So once again, there'll be an abdication of the responsibility of the majority party, in my view, because you have the power to pass a budget without, with only 50 votes with the Vice President's support. Parenthetically, I would note that the budget that you've offered and the plan you've offered I don't think is consistent totally with the, at least the Simpson-Bowles plan, at least as I understood it to be, is from my examination of this budget, you have no additional cuts over those that were in the Budget Control Act of last summer. No additional spending reductions at all. $2.1 trillion in spending cuts over 10 years, no more than that. But your budget calls for $2.6 trillion in new taxes. So that is a tax budget. President Obama at one point stated that he thought that we should have $3 in spending cuts for every one in tax increases. So we're so far from that that I'm amazed. Let me say how much I've enjoyed working with you. And you did note that Simpson-Bowles laid out some valuable plans that should have been a part of any future budget plan for America. And it was designed to move right after 2010. So I have to think that the President deserves great, an expression of great disappointment that he did not seize that moment and to begin that discussion. And then we could have really gone into it, and maybe there would have been a better chance at that point. But he definitely decided that he would not lay out a realistic plan for the future, and is actually committed to attacking those like Congressman Ron, who have laid out one. So I've been very disappointed at that. So here we are. Your remarks raise all the important issues that face our country. We ought to listen to what you say and then bring to bear our own philosophies and approaches to government as we wrestle with the key issues you've listed.